We know you've put your own money into 1BR, and now you've said, I believe, that you feel confident you can raise, what, 4 to 5 million for another picture of someone else's money. What gives you that confidence? How do you know that? I mean, you took this chance, you and the writer-director put your own money in first.
The thing that gives me confidence is awareness. We know, with confidence, I can tell you that as of right now, before going on these AVOD platforms, we probably had roughly 100 million people watch this film. I can't tell you why I know that, but I can tell you there's a mixture of Nielsen has a tracker and some other aspects that we have we're privy to. It's interesting to, have the confidence based off of numbers that we think that, about there's certainty 100% that we know. If that many people have watched your movie, if 100 million people have watched your movie, and this is before it goes on AVOD, right? Another 50, 60 million people could watch it then. There's 330 million people in the United States, right? Do you think we can convince 1 million people to come see this movie theatrically, the next movie, theatrically? I think the answer is yes. I think not only 1 million, you could probably convince 2 million people. So $20 million in the lifespan of a movie in a theatrical release context, right? Well, 50% is going to the theater. And if you have to have a theatrical distributor, another 20% is gone. So you're making about 30% of like either this 10 million or even this like 20 million, let's say. Well, if it's 20, you've already made your money back right there, plus almost 20% for your investors and stuff. We're not even counting like a Netflix deal or in terms of an SVOD deal and a TVOD, that window too. If you have 100 million people who have watched your film, your TVOD should be $2 to $3 million. It could be just that, if not more. Then, like I said, the SVOD release, then go to AVOD. What's that going to do for you? And in addition to that, people are going to go back and watch the first movie too, so that'll make money as well. If you plan like a trilogy, right? And at least the second one does the numbers like we're talking about. The third one will absolutely do the same numbers, if not just as much. If it's a good movie. Look, it could be a piece of crap. But at least I'll do half of that, right? We've already read the script. The script's actually better than the first one. If the first one's Alien, the second one's Aliens. So we really do feel like we're offering like the film goer something, like a bigger universe, a bigger sort of like continuation of the story. It really does, have a much bigger scope. And I feel like given the awareness and given how many people watch the film, we will not only make people's money back, but we'll make them some money. So I feel very confident about this time. In fact, I'm trying to like scrape up as much like money as I can myself to put it in just myself, because I'd rather just like have some ownership, the film entrepreneurship that people talk about, right? It's good to have a piece of what you have if it's considered successful. I mean, it's an interesting thing with the first one, like, look, this is money that if we have a second and third movie, I'll make passive income on this movie the rest of my life. I mean, hopefully, knock on wood. If you have one successful project, it can be successful for a long time to come if you've marketed it correctly and there's awareness is there. So awareness, that's the main thing.
Awareness is key.
Awareness is key.
And the same screenwriter, David.
Same writer-director. He's our brother. He's our partner. I don't know that we could do it with anybody else other than him. I mean, only way we wouldn't is if he got too big for it and just wants to go out and do other more interesting projects and this and that. But no, we would love for him to be involved with all of this stuff.
I don't know how much you can talk about the second one. So it's 2BR, right?
It's not called 2BR. People would tell you. People seem to think that's the idea. Let me tell you why it's not called 2BR. Okay. Though. All right, so when you go on to like, I don't know, Peacock, for example, and you go in their horror section, well, it's all alphabetical. But what comes before the alphabet? The numbers come before the alphabet, right? So when you come on to Peacock, for example, you'll see we're on the very first page you come up, 1BR. Now, wouldn't it be smarter to call it 1BR : something so that you retain that spot and you just call it something different, right? So that's why, 2BR is not as good an idea.
Sure.
So, but we can't say what it's called.
Okay, no problem. And also, too, if it's 1BR : and then whatever else, at least then the two will come up together if the first one's still on the platform. So now that people go, oh, wait a minute.
Well, they're right next to each other, in fact.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's funny too, though, that you would think that people always want the 2BR thing, and like she's just moving on to a 2-bedroom. That's it. That's that's the other joke that we make to ourselves too. Like, she's moving on 2-bedroom. She's not moving to a bigger place.
right. Well, maybe she's going to have single white female roommate.
Who knows?
Never know.
Go different ways.
Was it your plan to turn 1BR into a sequel or a series of movies all along?
Well, we had a discussion. Like, what happened was this. I thought it could definitely be a sequel, but in terms of the couple endings we shot, it might have been or might not have been. And producers were pushing very much towards the ending that we have right now, where it definitely lends itself to, a sequel and stuff like that. Because we felt like there was more to tell, and we could cleverly, look, who thought they could make a sequel out of Die Hard? And we have like 6 movies. So we knew there was always a way to do it. But, and the ending we have is a real the end or is it kind of ending, which we thought was kind of cool too. So that helped us really cement the idea that we were going to have the sequel. Like, it was talked about, but then I was like, no, that ending will make sure that people want to see what happens next. So, yes. It came down to the ending we picked, and we already had ideas for it anyways, but the ending really helped us cement it.
What are your biggest concerns making 1BR into a franchise going forward?
Well, there's believability to it. Some people talked and asked why we didn't want to do a TV show. I really feel like it lends itself in terms of believability to these sort of episodic, like, not episodic, but like these 2-hour, hour and a half, like next chapters, let's say. I feel like to stretch into a TV show, people start questioning the reality of it. It's hard enough to get them to suspend their disbelief, but I feel like we can do that in movie-sized chunks versus like episodic kind of things where it's seasons or something like that. That doesn't make sense to me. I think it's more of a movie.
On the producing side, is there anything that you aim to do better this time around?
Well, we know quite a lot. We learned a lot. We definitely understand what the distribution game is. I think that, we have a very honest distributor, Dark Sky. And they're a mom and pop, they're boutique, they helped us quite a lot. I feel like we did a lot of the marketing in comparison to what they did. So I feel like, the next time we go do this, maybe we need someone who's not gonna, I don't know. We could still work with them again or whatever it is, but I think that having learned what we learned, I think that we can do a lot of the stuff ourselves. I think that we should try to distribute globally more ourselves rather than handle sub-distributors. Unless you're gonna have a theatrical opening and you need that relationship that they have, this local distributor has with the theater chain, let's say, that's probably the only reason when you wanna have someone that you have to sub-distribute to. But I think we've learned a lot in terms of that part of the business. I think we've made a lot of relationships with actual like journalists and in the horror community. So I still have a publicist. I would still do a publicist all day long. But I think that there's a lot of opportunities for us to go directly to certain journalists and say, hey, listen, we have a relationship. We would love to sit down with you and like we'd bring you these people, and do that more so and keep that sort of grassroots thing up, where I think that it's really great when you have a relationship with somebody in general, whether it be a journalist or anybody, let's say, that you continue the relationship, right? Especially if they're supportive of your work, then you want to give them sort of like, I'm going to give you the first dibs on this, screw the LA Times, like, Tread Central gets it, or whatever it is, you want to foster and support that relationship. And hopefully you guys are both going to be here a long time, so this isn't just the only movie you're bringing them other things too, But I think that it's important to continue and foster a grassroots kind of spirit to the whole thing, and no matter how big it gets, people like discoveries. They like discovering like horror movies, and the horror community is very passionate about it. They get to the point where they'll tell like 10 of their friends. Like, it's amazing how verbal and how the word of mouth in a horror community travels so much more than even like a regular, romantic comedy or whatever it is, right?